my understanding that a commitment was made between talks to the Office of the President that the administration will release the report by the Board of NCN at the conclusion of its review by April 2013, which is where we are now.
But a year ago, yeah.
Mr. Garwood, you really know where it was. And Mr. Sharma, you really very patient.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, to ask you for the last question. This report dated June 21st, 2012, and we have been hearing in the public various pronouncements as to how to be dealt with the misappropriation of NCN revenue. That is why, Mr. Chairman, you have this situation of are being, there would have been no need to come here. So we're asking, has this report been sent to the DPP for advice or to the Commission of Police for action?
Sir, respectfully, I will not be able to afford that is either sent to the DPP or to the police. What I do know is that the board has sent the report to His Excellency for his review.
Mr. Garwood?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. The National Communication Network, I've had quite a number of questions dealing with contracted employees in other sections of this head. But since we are focusing on National Communication Network, it forms part of a huge allocation of $799 million to a number of agencies. This year, we are being asked, this National Assembly, to approve a transfer of an additional $81 million to the NCN and $135 million to the Guyana Information Agency. I think elsewhere they refer to it as GINA. 130 last year. But what I am asking is that I recall, subject to be corrected, that last year this National Assembly, by a majority vote, had not approved the allocation sought then of $130 million. But I see it is stated in the revised estimate that $130 million was spent for GINA and $81 million was spent on NCN. Is there an explanation as to how these appropriations reached back the estimates and they were spent?
Upon the ruling of the Honorable Chief Justice, in which the court ruled that there was no power resided in this assembly to reduce estimates presented by the Minister of Finance. And there is no power in this assembly to determine those estimates. And the court consequently found that the majority in the National Assembly infracted the doctrine of separation of powers and the Constitution itself, directed in the judgment.
On a point of order, you got the direction. On a point of order,
No, but with respect, Mr. Williams, the question was asked of the government, what was the reason why? The government is giving its reasons. It may not agree with the one that you have or your interpretation, but that is, we're getting here the government opinion as to why they did what they did. It is a difference to that of the majority, but
In that edict of the Honorable Chief Justice, attention was drawn to several provisions in the Constitution, in particular Article 380, as well as sections of the Financial Management and Accountability Act. The cumulative effect of those provisions reposing in the Minister of Finance a power and a responsibility of, after forming the opinion that there has been an insufficient allocation made in relation to any particular budgetary agency, has the power to take money from the consolidated fund and put it towards those agencies and then bring a statement to the Parliament at the earliest next opportunity, informing the House of the monies so withdrawn and the agencies to which they have been directed. The Honorable Minister of Finance, after forming that opinion and after moving in that direction, presented to this Honorable House in the form of supplementary financial papers, statements informing this House of the withdrawals made and how they were allocated.
which financial bill? Which financial bill? You want to respond to
If I may follow up, just to answer the other, I'm being asked specifically which financial paper. I can't answer that particular question, but government is there. I can easily, with the assistance of the Honorable Minister of Finance, who would have tabled those documents, and we can get those for the Assembly itself. That's not an issue.
honorable members, it is well established that after the events of April of last year, where the cuts were effected, the government approached the court. The court gave a ruling, which, I don't have the date, of course I should have the date in my head.
July 18th, the court.
And on the basis of that ruling, the government took certain actions. I have since given an interpretation as to the comments here, but the government has a different view based on a ruling that they have. That is established. We can spend the rest of the afternoon having a debate as to who is right and who is wrong.
No, sir, we're not going to do that. We want to put our response on the record. And we wish to say, sir, having listened to the dilation and expansion on the matter by the Honorable Attorney General, in doing that, he's also expanded our Constitution to Article 380. The point is, there is no Article 380 in our Constitution, and that really is the crux of the matter in this whole context. The Honorable Chief Justice's decision was one which was in response to the Honorable Attorney General's request to him that the Honorable Finance Minister be at liberty to make advances and withdrawals from the contingencies fund. That's the first request he made, to restore the cuts. During the course of the arguments, he recognized that he had to abandon or amend his approach, and he asked that consolidated fund be added. The decision of the Honorable Chief Justice was he would not grant such a request. It's like any lawyer would understand what he was going to the court for and what was the response given by the court. And so, the Honorable Attorney General, sir, really, without his legal training, ought not to come and tell this Honorable House that he could have misinterpreted the decision of the Honorable Chief Justice in such a manner. And in any event, sir, in hindsight, you must agree, especially in the light of your own ruling in this Honorable House, that it was an erroneous. And so we are saying, sir, that there was no basis for the Honorable Minister of Finance ignoring a decision of this August Assembly. And in our faces, went to restore cuts from the consolidated fund.
Honourable members, Mr. Chair, I want to say something. We have two opinions, two views. And the view of this House, the majority of this House is known. The view of the government is also known. And we can spend the rest of the afternoon dilating and going through every line of what the Chief Justice said and he didn't say. It will get us no further than where we are. The estimates are before us, and we have to address our minds to the estimate before us. And I would not want to enter into any debate or discussion on what the Chief Justice said and didn't say, and what the Speaker said and didn't say. It is about what is before us, and that is it. I'm not entertaining a debate that the Chief Justice is ruling, quite frankly. I don't want us to get into that. This is not
Mr. Chairman, could the Honourable Minister or Ministers inform us as to exactly where in the Constitution or in the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act they have the power to spend without reference to this House? Because
Honourable Member, I am answering as I say that on the
we are not asking for the Chief Justice, Mr.
So what I'm saying that on the government is saying that on the basis of the order or the ruling made by the Chief Justice on the 20th of July, they went ahead. That is known. That is known, and Mr. With respect, I'm not going to allow us to get into a debate.
I'm not debating.
No, but it will lead to that.
I'm asking a question.
It will lead to that. Mr. Bennett is known.
You know what I'm going to ask?
Mr. Bennett, I know you asked it.
You know, okay.
I know. Mr. Bennett, we are going no place if we go that way. We are going no place. I would like to put the question. Don't worry. I would like to put the question. Sorry. Mr. Sharma had a number of questions.
Mr. Chairman, I had asked the question.
Mr. Nakamoto, if this is going to get us into the realms of Chief
I had asked the question regarding the issue that raised there. I know you intend to re-litigate your rule, and we accepted your ruling, Your Honor. And I was just going to ask a further question. In view of the with regards to the power of this National Assembly to make, propose and make amendments to estimates, whether the government, through the Honourable Minister, doesn't feel that this money ought to be replaced into the consolidated fund. Having now this Parliament, and in keeping with the law, I don't want to go back there.
Mr. Nakamoto, that again will take us into the realms of the Chief Justice's decision versus the Speaker's decision. Let us deal with the estimates that are before us now. Either we are approving them or we are not approving them. That is the exercise we are undertaking this afternoon.
I wish, Mr. Speaker, in view of that, and we're coming down to, I wish
Before Mr. Ramita, you going to Mr. Shah. We can also have the question. Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would not waste your time. I just want to indulge your attention to a resolution 7 that was passed in this House. A resolution that states that the appropriation for Program 1 of the President was reduced. The Minister of Finance breached this resolution. What action this House will take? I have the resolution.
Could you take it on line item, please, Mr. Chairman?
62.
For approval, we are approving today. These
62.
sums are stated here. All questions about what you're going to do with action taken and so we'll have to deal with that here. Today we are approving or disapproving sums stated in estimates.
6321.
What is the question on the estimate for?
The question was how expenditure was, how money was expended when the budget was reduced.
There was an explanation given by the Attorney General on that. A few minutes.
You asked for some information, I have them. I think you asked for some information with the financial papers, I have them all for Glennisville.
You can have them. Go ahead now, Mr. Rambutan.
I wish to make the statement that I prosecute my motion for reduction only in relation to 6321, and that is the 6321, Ghana Information Agency and National Communications Agency. In relation to the other matters, we have had satisfactory explanation.
Mr. Burnett.
I would like to draw the House's attention to get into the 651 on page 398, the Office of the First Lady.
Sorry, no, Mr. Burnett, we haven't got the capital expenditures.
So this is not capital, the item I'm referring to is on page 33.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And under contributions to details of subsidies and contributions to local organizations, 6321 is linked to page 398. And on page 398, agency code 01, on the Office of the President and Youth Services, there's an item Office of the First Lady. Am I allowed to address this?
Yes.
Item of the Office of the First Lady has a request for 10 million. As far as I can ascertain, and with the assistance of the Minister of Finance and the President, I was able to acquire the legislation pertaining to our Office of the First Lady. The legislation itself is very unclear, but insofar as there is legislation and it does seek to establish an office, it does not in any way seek to elaborate on what this office does. It doesn't have anything to do, it has specifies in no way the offices, the staffing, anything else. However, it does make reference to emoluments. And I think that we need to know from where those emoluments have to be met and who's there. And whose emoluments there are. The legislation is not a sufficient basis for the determination of whether this item should be funded.
Can anyone say anything about the I can say publicly, see that I don't have a vote, and I think it's a fantastic thing that the country has a First Lady after. And that legislation should be brought into place if needed to get it regularized. Can someone please answer the question about the First Lady of Ghana?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've had the opportunity of reading the Act number 11 of 2009. Mr. Speaker, I also had the opportunity of reading the Hansard, of which you yourself, as a member of the House at that time, made a contribution to this debate. And as I understand it, your sentiment expressed now was consistent with what was expressed then. So there is no indication here, sir, that in this budgetary proposal that is made for consideration, that a payment would be made to the First Lady as it relates to salary or anything of that. This is not envisaged in this application. So the House and the members of the nation that this is not envisaged. Every First Lady, every First Lady, or as the bill would say, spouse, depending on who's the president, in our case we have a First Lady, will have our own platform. We'll have our own platform. There would be things that the First Lady would like to execute as part of her platform as a First Lady. And this is envisaged, sir, to deal with simple which on the take. You're all aware in this country that our current First Lady, she must be commended for that, has undertaken a project of promoting positive families, which is something that is needed in Guyana very badly. And she's been working with the children as it relates to the promotion in terms of agriculture. And sir, this allocation is basically to assist the First Lady in the executing of her platform, whether it be by way of transportation, the acquisition of equipment to get done what she needs to get done, and it is not envisaged at all for her or for her to personally benefit. This is to enhance our platform for the benefit of the people of Guyana. Thank you very much.
I'm not even going to ask for information, to be quite honest. Let me just, however, draw your attention to some things. The act itself, to which the minister,
All the Minister of Education, allow Mr. British please to speak. All the Minister of Education, please allow Mr. British to speak. He must be allowed to speak. He must be allowed to speak. I know that this may be a sensitive issue, but Mr. British must be allowed to speak. Please.
Sir, just so that I'm clear, I was not preventing Mr.
No, but
British.
yes,
I was doing what Mr. British does often.
No.
Which is
But heckling is meant to do just that, to distract.
no,
And I need to hear because I couldn't hear him. I was not hearing his voice. Go ahead, Mr. British.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, I'm not going to ask for information, but I just want to draw to the attention of the House that speaks about a spouse, and the tenure shall be co-terminus with that of the serving president. As far as I read it, it is obscure. It could apply to more than one person at the same time. As regards 3, however, section 3, please. It refers, in spite of what the minister said, I see a reference to allowances and benefits, okay, which the holder of the office of the spouse of the president will be eligible and they will be specified by an order. Is there what I want to do, is there such an order? But I would also draw to your attention that there is no explanatory note to this piece of legislation, and there is no explanatory note to it. I have the legislation here, but there's no explanatory note. So the question is, what is it that this is supposed to do this line item? And where in the estimates are the details of the statutory office? That is really what is not said here.
Mr. One second, Minister, I don't need to Nagutu. I'll try to take a second so you have one copy. Mr. Nagutu, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to state on behalf of the Alliance for Change that though we would have raised concern with regards to the explanation not being provided to the legend, that we welcome the view of the explanation given in this House, the allocation for the first office of the first
I think Mr. Gorilla Law has been trying to speak as well. Mr. Gorilla Law, go ahead, please.
Offices and platforms are being set up, if we can home and if we can extend our help.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, could I ask for a breakdown as to how the monies will be spent?
The substantive senior minister of finance or in the office?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have with me presently a break. But what I needed to say, sir, for the benefit of this House and globe, I was not a member of that Parliament that enacted this. I think when this piece of legislation came into being, it was a sweep to correct a number of things that existed based upon presidential dictate. And it was seeking to regularize a whole lot of things that was out there in thin air. For example, there was the lead of the opposition bill. There was a special piece of legislation that came into this House to ensure that the wife of former President Mrs. Hoyt was properly taken care of because that was left up to executive dictate. And this was a matter of regularizing things and putting it in a particular framework. And I would just like to remind the Honorable House of that, sir.
Except they could use that.
Speaker,
Go ahead. Okay, allow the minister to speak, please.
This House, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman rather, considered in 2000, this House considered in 2009 the office of the spouse of the President bill, as it was then described, 2009, subsequently to become the office of the spouse of the President Act 2009. It will be recalled, sir, by those of us who had the honor of serving in the 9th Parliament, and indeed, it will be captured for posterity in the records of the Hansard, that this House unanimously welcomed this piece of legislation. And heralded
Motion pertaining to a number of items on page 33 which are reflected in 398 and could be standing by name. I'd like to invite you to question the issues in these issues.
Ask that the member itemizes which subheads because there are many and there are different motions. Officer Presidents on 3 different sets of motions. Could you please itemize whoever on the other side says which subhead and what is the specific proposal to cut?
Yeah, this was Mr. Isaac assistant. start perhaps with clarification, Mr. Ramzan, you had indicated.
I'm only prosecuting my two amendments.
Let us go through your document submitted on the 12th of page 32, agency 0101161116 contracted employees.
I am not pursuing that.
So I can draw a line through that. Thank you. The second,
I am
security
not
service, not pursuing certain security service. Other,
No, I'm not pursuing that.
other again.
Not pursuing.
Contracted employees,
Not pursuing.
security services,
Not pursuing.
other,
Not pursuing.
That's on page 35, sir.
That's on page 35. So that is the same order? No. We will come to that.
sorry, okay.
But I am pursuing Information Agency, $135 million cut, and the $81 million cut from National Communications Agency. That is, it is on my front page there, page 398 that I have. Because it comes as a line item 0116321. 6321.
That's on the subsidies and contributions to local organizations. Mr. Village is now saying that his also pertains to the very same line item. So we have to see, I believe the rule is that the one that is largest is dealt with first. So Mr. Village, could you 398. What we need is one matrix. Mr. Ramzan, the difference between your motion and that of Mr. Village is $1. Yours, therefore, is.
Yes, sir.
The difference
It will appear that we will, of course, when the consent of Mr. Renee, that it will only be two that we will prosecute. Oh, whose motion now? Oh, yes.
The difference between the two is $1.
We will prosecute his motion with $1. You leave $1 for that.
So you will, Mr. Ramzan, you will withdraw your. Mr. Ramzan, you are formally indicating that you are no longer going with your motion.
That's right.
So far it relates to the.
NCL and Gina. It will be $1.
Okay, all right. You want me to
All members, in that case, I would like to put a question that we approve a motion starting in the name of Mr. Carl B. Greenwich, MP.
This is so smart.
That was received on the 16th of April and published on the paper for the 18th of April. Seconded by Mrs. Black. Anyone seconding Mr. Greenwich?
Again, we're seeking your guidance. We have several motions. I think I understand we're dealing with the head 6321.
Yes.
And it would help because Mr. Greenwich and Mr. Rambutan, I said before, have opposite the president spread out over all three of each other's motions. And so we need to know specifically what head we are voting on and what specific item. Because there are other issues that Mr. Greenwich has also tabled under the same program, one to do with other heads. It's very, very clear.
I believe that Mr. Greenwich has said that he did a 6 66321. That is my understanding. Mr. Willis, would you clarify if that's not true?
Mr. Speaker, I thought that when you yourself asked for clarification, I made it clear that I was dealing with the item 6321, which originates on page 33, and is detailed on page 398. I'm not saying that very
What's
very
your number of your motion?
And as
183?
regards,
Is that the motion we're dealing with?
as regards page 398,
I am referring to the notice paper before me, number 183. It says member giving notice to the Carby Greenwich MP.
Yes, sir, we have that.
It has a column, date received with 2013-0416, date for order paper 2013-0418. It has page 398-01, Office of the President 0116321.
And it has a sum too, sir?
And it has a sum 135,858. Reduction to 135,857,999. Proposed $1. That is what I have before me. Yes, Mr. Nadir.
Mr. Chairman, I am on Mr. Greenwich's paper notice, paper 182, which pertains to some line items prior to 6321. So we also have to deal with that when we're dealing with this.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, may I perhaps endeavor to lend some clarity to this? If I understand correctly,
Go
we
ahead.
have Mr. Ranjitan's motion and Mr. Greenwich's motion taken together on Office of the President Program 1, which is on pages 32 and 33, with supporting details on page 398. If I understand correctly, all of the proposed cuts are being withdrawn except for two. The two that are being pursued and prosecuted are a cut. The only two cuts that are being pursued and prosecuted are a cut to GINA and a cut to NCN, in both instances moved by Mr. Greenwich. Am I correct in that?
That is right.
Thank you very much, sir.
That is what you say.
That's what we say.
No, that was my understanding on the time.
It was always our intention.
So I remember before I put the entire program 01 on, I put the amendment, that is that we remove in the instance of the Ghana Information Agency, reduce the amount sought by $135,857,999 to the sum of $1. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Those against? No. Division is called. 33 members voted in favor of the motion. 32 members voted against it. The motion is carried. Agency code 0016231 to the sum of $1. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? No.
I'd like to ask, is there an agency code 001 or is it 011? Somebody might need to correct that.
Make a correction.
Why would I need to do that?
I'd like to say that I am not sure. I don't know the budget director may be able to. 011. But this is something that will come under what is known as the slip rule. That in the preparation of the document by the Parliament Office, they may have put 011. But I think we know sufficiently what it is we are identifying here. So I will refer to 6231, forgetting the zeros and the ones that come before it. And the motion is that the sum of $81,336,999 be removed from that line item, and that the sum be reduced to $1. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? No. The division is sought. We'll ask the bill again and then we'll proceed with the division. Those voted in favor of the motion for amendment. 32 members voted against it. The motion is therefore carried. I will now put the motion for the adoption of the sum stated in the Agency 01, Program 011, Administrative Services, Office of the President, as amended for current expenditure. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Could we turn please to pages 411 and 412 as I propose?
Chairman, as it relates to the 4,586,901, this has to do with the setting up of the towers. It also has to do with the acquisition of the additional laptops to bring us to the 90,000, and it is in keeping with the ICT program, sir.
Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Project code number 1200200. I have noticed for 2011, the sum of 30.97 million was spent. In 2012, 35 million was budgeted for, and a total of 34.772 million was spent. However, in 2013, there is a budgetary allocation for $35 million, and under the column legend reads rehabilitation of building and upgrading of the electrical system. I now refer to volume 3, reference 1. On the description of project, we have rehabilitation works, State House, and upgrading of electrical system, villas. My question to the Honorable Minister, could you say what works were done in 2012 to the tune of 34.772 million? Which buildings? And 2, what works are expected to be done in 2013 and which buildings? Thank you very much.
Sir, Chairman, thank you, Honorable Member. The Lala Breeden State House is a wooden, ancient, historical building. It's a heritage building. And when we undertake rehabilitation and maintenance, we don't do everything in 1 year. Based upon monies that are available, you fix sections. Last year we did a number of repairs and maintenance and painting and the rest of it. In this sum that is allocated here, it's not only the State House, but it's also the villas, which is situated at the back of Castellani House. We are going to be also updating the electrical system, which is a quite ancient system for greater efficiency. So it means total rewiring and putting in new systems and the rest of it. Thank you.
Follow-up, Honorable Member. Could you provide to this House how much monies will be spent on continuous works at State House, and how much will be spent on the villas?
Yes. For State House, sir, it's 30 million. For the villas, for the electrical system, it's $5 million.
Go ahead. Mr. Chairman, I refer to the code 17001 number, minor works.
we know that there's a fairly large population on its head. And I wonder if it is that the minister can give us some details, some specifics in relation to the nature of the work that we carry out, something more expansive than what appears in the plan. And if it's possible to fix a cost to the specific activities now, we would speak to.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Honourable Member, for the question. Sir, this sum of 95 billion has been a sum that has been allocated before. This is not a new sum. It was allocated before. The minor works vote, the Honourable Member, represents the humanitarian assistance that the President will be at his discretion to offer to hundreds of Guyanese who will appeal to him from time to time. For example, the President may be out on a visit and an elderly person appeals to him for assistance because of hard luck or hard times. It is from this minor vote that that person will be dealt with. People who need medical assistance and your family cannot afford it. From time to time, people make appeals to the President. Communities that are seeking to develop themselves that would have fallen short on resources to make something happen, they appeal to the President. So, from the experience and what has always been, heavily from this minor work vote, sir, is humanitarian assistance, looking after the needs of hundreds of Guyanese who would expect an intervention at the presidential level in terms of humanitarian assistance. And this has nothing to do with construction or building. It is called minor works for the purpose of budgetary allocation, but it's basically for humanitarian assistance. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Guerrero.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I read Project Code 121-2000. Could the Honourable Minister say where will the ICT towers be set up in the hinterland?
Where in the hinterland the ICT program will be?
The towers, where will they be set up in the hinterland? And 2, how long will this process take? 3, will all villagers be able to access internet services after this? And 4, do you have to spend extra monies to repair the exposed cables in the line? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm advised that we are putting in 54 towers, and they will be at specific drop-off spots. For example, I think there will be one close to Ibokorama and coming all the way through. The intent, Mr. Chairman, is that it relates to the ICT program, as I understand it, is that where we situate these towers will allow even to Amerindian communities. Because, Mr. Chairman, in our budgetary allocation, there is a provision for bringing ICT connectivity to all Amerindian communities, where they'll be setting up bands, solar power, and they will be able to have the connectivity. We don't intend to give the laptop without the connectivity. So the 54 towers would span the coast, including Linden, and there will also be connectivity for the Amerindian communities. There are various drop-off spots, and the technical people will be able to explain this a lot more in detail than I can do, but there are radius in which you can get coverage and connectivity and the rest of it. So the technical people have situated these 54 towers to be able to cover the main population centers to ensure we provide that necessary connectivity. And schools, and all government facilities, health centers, police stations, and all the rest of it.
Honourable Minister, so you can say exactly how many Amerindian communities will be able to, and schools will be able to access the internet?
benefit from this program, this ICT program.
Also, how long will this process take?
Sir, as I understand it, the program will touch all Amerindian communities. In 2013, in terms of the laying out of the program, some 66 communities will be served this year. And like I answered a little earlier, the laying out of the program, we're looking at the September 2013 program.
Go ahead.
Honorable Minister, could you give us an idea of how many Ghanaians have actually secured jobs out of this project so far?
Sir, if I could get a line item or something.
Same line. Same
I
line.
think we are at 1-to-1, 2,000.
Yeah, my apologies.
ICT, 1-to-1,
1-to-1, 2,000. The question is how many Guyanese will have secure jobs. Sir, the one laptop per family program has an employment of about 150 Guyanese. The e-governance program has 16, and there were 4 contractors that would have employed several Guyanese for the layout of the cable. MMC, I can recall, as one of the contractors right off, but there are 3 other contractors that were involved in numerous Guyanese that were involved in getting the cable laid. So, in terms of people on the job right now as a result of this program, the 150, this is not all Georgetown based, this is where the program is being rolled out, the e-governance program 16, and that's where we are.
Thank you, the minister did not, honorable member did not answer the question about the exposed cables in Region 9. Will you require extra monies to get these fixed? How soon will you do this? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, it is regrettable, but I think the honorable member knows the terrain of the interior like many of us. It is as a result of erosion and heavy rainfall, some of the cable became exposed. That is being,
the question is what, how is it going to be remedied?
yes, it is being remedied at no extra cost on the.
I would say this though, again, particularly in Mabura Road and the program, that if we know rainfall patterns, flooding, erosion, why was it buried? In some instances, the cable was right there, and it's only by the grace of God or whatever, somebody doesn't take a photo of them and chop it or keep it all over it. So, you know, I mean, Mr. Alikak would tell you that that cable is literally exposed in many places in its office. Either have been taken overhead or buried far deeper than it was. I can tell you that. Right?
Mr. Speaker, like you, sir, I became aware of the matter of the exposure to cable, and I have worked with the people on this project to deal with the issue of the erosion, because I did ask what would be the substitute, and that would be to pass the cable through some special pipes. But sir, when the figures come in, it would have sent the cost of this program way in a region that we could not have handled. So we are basically trying to manage our terrain. We're basically trying to do our best, work on impressing our contractors, maybe some of the designs. We'll have to rework them as it relates to how we can get the adjustments to cater for those things. But it is being remedied as we speak because it's a matter that's of great concern to us. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, with regards to the laptops, how many villages acquired laptops so far?
These are hinterland villages?
I'm sorry, hinterland villages.
Mr. Chairman, the government of Guyana, through this role, have not started distribution of laptops to Amerindian communities for the simple reason, if we take in the laptops and we don't have the infrastructure and the connectivity, it is just an exercise in futility. So we are seeking to expedite the laying out of the infrastructure so that we be able to accelerate our distribution into these areas. And it is something that we're anxious to do, particularly as it relates to equal access in terms of education for the Amerindian students to be able to do their research and all the rest of it. It's something that we are actively pursuing, but we want to get the infrastructure in place. Thank you.
Another question, please. When you have completed the work on the digital governance program, will you be selling bandwidth to private persons?
Mr. Chairman, no decision has been made in that direction. You would appreciate that we have private